because,
Agreed.
if you're spending, especially where we're at, an average price of $400,000 for a home, you know, uh, that's a huge investment. And if you're not willing to do an inspection and walk in blindly, you're in a lot of trouble.
My name is Kevin McIntosh, and this is the Closing Table, where we talk to experts about their experience in real estate all across the country. Let's go.
All right. Thank you for pulling up a seat and welcome to the Closing Table. I am your host. I go by the name of Kevin C. McIntosh. Joining us on this episode, sharing some of his knowledge and expertise, Mr. Mick Khzouz. How you doing, Mick?
Wonderful. Thank you. And thank you for pronouncing my name correctly.
I did it. I landed it. Thank you. We're starting off right, man. I appreciate you, Mick, for being here, taking time out of your busy schedule. We are here to talk very serious information, but I want to have some fun with an icebreaker called word association. Got a couple words, phrases related to real estate. I just need you to just give whatever corresponding initial thought that you have with those. You ready?
Sure.
All right, let's do this. First one, title.
Closing.
Nice. Depreciation.
Chance to build value.
Down payment.
The beginning of the process.
Okay. Closing.
Celebration.
Last one, refinance.
The way to deal with a current situation.
Unique. Definitely unique responses, but it gets our brains going. I appreciate you for starting off with a little bit of fun with us, Mick. So let's start off by you telling us who you are. Who is Mick Khzouz outside of real estate?
Well, I've been an entrepreneur since I was about 21 years old. I got sick of working for people, so I started doing side hustles and opened a landscaping business. I went into I started my own sign repair business. From there, I bought a restaurant with my siblings and gave that a shot. And so I basically never looked back. I've always been self-employed since then. And
Nice.
My true passion was the music. I've been in the music business my whole life, playing bars and stuff like that. But I finally transitioned to, into making a living playing music, which wasn't a lot, but, I didn't care about that at the time. And spent, a couple decades touring and playing bars and doing that stuff. And so the real estate came in because my whole family was involved in real estate. So I got to the point where I finally realized that I'm going to have a backup plan, especially if I want to start a family. So, I started to transition into the real estate business. I started as a real estate appraiser and then found out that was a little bit too boring for me. I like being out in the field and showing homes and stuff like that. So I transitioned into the real estate business and I really enjoy it. So now I'm full time.
There it is. There it is. Wonderful. Thanks for sharing that with us. So why don't you paint a picture for us right now, the current market that you are serving? Can you describe that for our audience, geographically, location, surrounding areas, landmarks, etc.?
Mm-hmm. Well, I can tell you that, as far as listing a home, we go anywhere in Michigan, anywhere.
Okay.
Because once we come in, we set up shop. The way we produce the home and set up that listing is nobody can compete with how, we kind of set things up. So we do the videos, the aerial, the video tours, the social media marketing, the YouTube, everything. So when it comes to, how far do we go anywhere in Michigan for a listing? If we're working with buyers, we have showing agents all over Michigan that we can refer to. Our the client's first realtors is our office, but me and my wife operate as Michigan Rockstar Realty Team. So,
Nice.
if there's somebody we can't service, there's always an agent within our company that could operate as a showing agent and go in and show the homes. You know, but as far as writing offers and negotiating, that's where we take over, and that's where I think we have an edge because of the amount of experience and the amount of deals we've written and situations we've come across. So I think if you're asking specifically where, I would say Canton, Plymouth, Northville, Novi, South Lyon. Uh,
Okay.
we're kind of concentrated in that area, but we do fairly a good amount of business on the east side as well. So
Okay. Okay.
we're yep.
Good. Yeah. Yeah. See, I like to ask agents more recently, and I guess I'm gonna throw this at you. Do you feel like it's better for you or your client to serve the entire state that you're licensed in, or to focus on that specific area that you're actually in?
That's a great question. I think it's more of, do you have are you making enough time for that client to serve them fully?
Uh,
And if that's the question, then I would say absolutely. I'm not looking for volume. I know a lot of agents are. We don't need a huge piece of the pie. We just need enough to survive and do well and try and enjoy life a little bit, right?
right.
So, you know, uh, so yeah, when somebody calls me at 11 o'clock at night, if I'm up, I'll answer the phone. Other agents will tell you, hey, past 6 o'clock, I don't, and I respect that too. As far as I'm concerned, though, this is the most people's biggest transaction of their life is a home. So if somebody calls me at 10:30, 11 o'clock at night and I'm up, I'm going to answer, and I'm going to see
Yeah.
what I can do to ease their worries or expedite the process, whatever I need to do. So yeah, it's if it does become a problem, where if I can't service somebody, do them justice, I'll just hand it to another agent in my office, or be honest with them. So,
Yeah.
but up until now, we've been blessed enough that we're keeping up. We're working round the clock. We're always busy. I see other people kind of complaining that things are a little slow, but you know, when you're out there hustling, there's always something to do. If you're always on hustle mode, there's always something you can be doing. So,
Yeah. Very honorable.
yeah.
I can respect that right there. Getting into the nitty gritty of the process, including inspections. When you're involved in an inspection, what are some common home inspection issues that can come up with a buyer or a seller during that process? And how do you address it?
Uh, well, you're going to get, even if it's a brand new build, you're still going to get a laundry list of things from the inspector. Um, I think the biggest issues I've come across is either foundation problems, um,
Yeah.
mold issues, which a lot of people don't realize. Uh, if your inspector isn't thorough enough, he's going to miss some things. There are some inspectors,
Yeah.
you know they won't fully go into an attic. They'll kind of peek in, but you'll get that. And also, I would say radon is a
Good.
big problem that most people don't know about. That a lot of people spend a lot of time in their basements. Most people don't even do radon tests. And lately I've been finding that to I always advocate for a radon test if you're going to spend a lot of time in the basement, especially. We're finding a lot of high levels, especially in my area. So that's important. That's the equivalent to
Well,
smoking cigarettes if you have high levels. So a lot of people have been in this market, and I know I'm veering off a little bit. A lot of people have been waiving inspections because they're desperate to get home and they're trying to compete with everybody else. I think it's the
yeah.
worst thing you can possibly do. because
Agreed.
if you're spending, especially where we're at, an average price of $400,000 for a home, you know uh, that's a huge investment. And if you're not willing to do an inspection and walk in blindly, you're in a lot of trouble, potentially. So yeah, so if that
Yeah.
answers that
Yeah.
question. Yeah.
No, 100%, 100%. Yeah, we are seeing some, I don't want to say weird, but some unusual contingencies and negotiations at the table. But I mean, nonetheless, to each his own. I love to say that, it's whatever you can deal with. But with the inspection, the radon and the foundation problem is something I have heard commonly with the Michigan agents during these inspections. That all pretty much just ties into basements, though, right?
Right.
Which is a common thing in Michigan. So, I mean, do you feel like basements are really causing more problems than they are helping homes?
Well, yeah, absolutely. That's why I always push for inspections. You know, uh,
Like,
and the age of some of these homes, I've been, I've been
it's
taking
a good
buyers
point.
to new builds lately, because I'm like, hey, wait a minute, you
Literally.
know, you're going to spend close to what you could buy a brand new home for, but now you're buying a house that was built 60, 70 years ago, and it's a finished basement. The inspector can't even inspect the walls back here, you know. And I did have an instance where one client, you know, uh, had a huge rainstorm, got a little bit of water coming through the wall. He had to pull the paneling off that finished basement, and found the whole wall was covered with mold, and
Oh,
yeah. So and those are things that inspectors can't do. They can't start, ripping up walls and stuff like that. They're limited to, their moisture meter tester and stuff like that. But beyond that, it really is a gamble. So yeah, if you're going to pay a high price for a home, like I said, and builders can't even keep up right now. And I've been advocating for
really,
more new
really.
builds than anything. And the thing is, they pay us less money, but at the end of the day, your client is hiring you, and your fiduciary duty is to advise them in the best possible way you can. So yeah, I'm going to have to say, hey man, it's a better deal to just go buy a brand new build.
Who you said they pay less? Oh,
Well,
who
the
is they, and
builders,
and what are you
yeah,
talking
the
about?
builders, tend to offer us
Uh,
you know a little bit smaller of a commission. So
really?
yes,
Huh.
not all of them, but in general.
Why is that with the new construction?
Well, I mean, they're trying to make as much money as they can. You know, yeah, they're paying
Okay.
higher prices for all their
Mm.
supplies. They're having a harder time with workers,
Gotcha.
and
Good point.
it's an easy sell for us, because it's a brand new home. It's generally a little bit easier. So
No, no, good, great points, great perspective that I didn't think about. Thanks for bringing that to the closing table for our audience. What about the legal parts of it? I mean, obviously, as a consumer, a client, a home buyer, seller, we don't have as much extensive knowledge on the legal side as you do. So, what are some of the most important legal considerations that the home buyer or seller should keep in mind?
okay, well, as far as the seller is concerned, you're going to need to fill out your seller disclosure completely. And a lot of people don't know this. A lot of agents don't even know this. You leave one line that's not filled out, that's a legal way out for the buyer without having to lose their deposit. So even if you don't know something, just, you've got to put either unknown, NA, whatever. Don't leave it blank. Um, and if
Right.
you do have an issue that there's a hidden defect that isn't immediately noticeable, do the right thing, you know, and disclose that. If let's say you get every 10 years you get a torrential downpour of rain, and you get one little trickle of water, put it in there. Just do yourself a favor, put it in there, because if that buyer buys your
Right.
house and moves in, and their basement floods the very next day, you're going to have a huge lawsuit on your hands, And at the end of the day, just what you know do what you would want done to you. And so
Then
from the
golden
seller
rule.
standpoint, yeah, so always be honest, and fill that disclosure out completely, so you're protected and so that you can sleep at night with a good conscience. Now, for the buyer, always do an inspection. I don't care if it's a brand new build. Even, and I had an instant where a builder almost finished a brand new build, and something happened when they poured the foundation, and it cracked, and the whole basement was flooded. And the buyer, the builder wouldn't release the buyer, and it was a huge mess. But in saying that, it just proves
Yeah.
that even a new build, you should still inspect. Also, as a buyer, you have to go in knowing that you may do an inspection and you may do an appraisal on that house, and you may decide, and it may not work out. So you're going to be gambling probably around $1,000, if you don't buy that house. So that's an investment. You have
Man,
to you have to make sure that you're prepared for that investment, so that you have the money set aside. And I've had some issues with that.
So even when you're in the process, everything isn't going to go as smooth as possible. There are going to be some obstacles, some conflicts, dilemmas, hurdles that you're going to overcome. How do you handle these certain dilemmas, conflicts, even ethical dilemmas that you might have to encounter during the transaction?
Yeah, well, I talk things out with my clients. I've had to walk away from a couple clients. I can tell you that, because of not just ethical, but maybe, you know, um, like a race thing, where
Mm.
they made certain comments. And you know, there was one high end client that I had that I actually had to drive over to their home and sat with them, and I tried to explain to them, that there's certain things that I won't engage in, and I couldn't get through to them, so I had to walk away. And I lost
Oh,
a high end client. But at the end of the day, you know, uh, I came up as a minority. My parents came from another country. I know what it feels like. A lot of people don't know that, when they first meet me. So, so it's important to, draw a fine line there and be like, hey, there's certain things I won't discuss, and there's certain things that I won't do. So, and as
right.
far as ethically, yeah, I mean, I was in a contract with somebody recently, and I can tell you I don't have factual proof, but I've been doing this long enough where I know some things were done that weren't on the up and up. And I contacted the broker to this other agent, and the broker, first thing I tried to do was stand up for his agent, and I just said, hey, I'm going to ask you one simple question: if this happened to you, how would you feel? And that's the only question I want to ask you. I just want to see what your response is. And I
Mm,
think he was smart enough to say, you know what, I'd be angry too. And I said, okay, then you got where I'm coming from. So,
got you.
but there's a way to handle these things, always with a cool head. And some situations you have to walk away from.
Yeah, yeah, sure thing. Cool heads will prevail. And I like the fact that you pretty much just put it out there. I mean, obviously, doing handling something like that and avoiding those type of dilemmas. Not only is it, protecting your job and your profession, but it's morally and ethically the right thing to do. I mean, come on now. So it's great to hear stories like that where, as a realtor, you are doing your part to make sure that, everyone is accommodated and taken care of for. So thank you for sharing that with us, Mick. We appreciate it. Um, Resale values with the homes. This is kind of hard to determine when you're initially buying a home, or is it? I mean, I mean, from your perspective, can you talk about how can a home buyer determine whether a property has potential resale value in the future?
Well, I don't know if you've ever heard the saying, you don't want to be the most expensive home on the block, right? Uh, but, when we go through, we're going to look at upgrades and things like that. So there's always
Uh-huh.
potential to, to bring more value to your home. Absolutely. Uh, you know, uh, Unless, there is something in the, unless there's something immediately affecting your home's value, like a gas station in the area or something where, you know,
Mm,
you're smelling gas fumes all day long, but there's always potential in this business to, you know, to add value to your home, whether it's to add square footage or do the upgrades or do the repairs or even landscaping. That's another simple little trick that brings value. So, to me, real estate, you're never losing. You're never losing. You're losing when your money's sitting in the bank. I can tell you that. You're always
true.
losing. So,
True. So we gotta rewind. That gas station example, was that just a random example, or is that something that can really affect the
well,
resale value?
yeah. Well, I say that because I owned a home and next to a gas station, and I didn't
Mm,
realize it when we bought it. Me and my wife early on, but yeah, I just that drove me nuts, and I had to go. So
really?
yeah,
Oh wow. I mean, yeah, it would make sense. There's a lot of traffic coming in and out of there, depending on the hours that the gas station is up. Like, I mean, that would determine, the noise and all. So, yeah, wow, a lot of different perspectives, man. That you just really don't realize. Okay, so I feel like as a home buyer, potential investor, me and everybody else, we want to find the diamond in the dirt. What's the next up and coming neighborhoods that we can kind of tag along or invest in before it really gets popular? From your perspective, in your market, are there any up and coming neighborhoods or areas that are expected to increase in value in the near future, and where are they?
yeah, that's a great
Give up the
question.
secrets.
Well, I'll give you a general answer to that because right
Okay.
now, if you're trying to buy in downtown popular cities like downtown Plymouth or Canton or Northville, Novi, um, you're going to have a rough time. You're going to pay a premium. And then with all the remote workers now, it's a great time to get out of those areas and sell because you're going to get top dollar. But where would you go? All the outlining cities around all these downtown areas, because what's happening now is everybody's throwing up their hands going, okay, I think I'm done with this area. I'm going to go to the next city over. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I think when you interviewed Eric Wright, he made that comment like, hey, South Lyon, everybody's going there, you know. Um, and so it would be, so that this would apply to everybody across the board that's listening. You want to go to the next neighboring city of whatever popular city is going on. If it's Ann Arbor,
Mm.
start looking in, outside areas, Dexter and Chelsea and, Superior. That's where the next surge is going to, come in because uh,
Mm.
at the rate it's going now, because right now it's unbearable for most people.
Right, right, right. No, I definitely get it. I've heard that from agents in other states also, who also mentioned that. Like, you'll find a lot of nearby towns that, used to be ignored maybe 10, 15, 20 years ago. Now it's I mean, because of proximity to the other growing cities, you see it actually doing a lot more development and stuff. So, great note to keep in mind also. Nowadays, a lot of homeowners, maybe first time home buyers more than any other, they like to move into homes that are already move in ready. They don't want to do too much of the actual work. Can you discuss the pros and cons of buying a home that needs renovation versus one that is already move in ready?
Right. So, you know, move in ready, if you can afford that, that's great. I would prefer that all day personally because, you know,
Mm-hmm.
if you have a regular job where you're working minimum 40 hours a week, the last thing you want is a project. Is, I mean, granted, some people enjoy that, but the last thing you want is a project. But in this market, that might be your only choice. The only way to get into a home is something that's going to need a lot of work. I would say, going back to that inspection, make sure you do the inspection. Because if the inspector says, hey, there's a ton of stuff that needs to be done, but overall, no mold, no foundation problems, no termite issues, no low radon, then yeah, you can move in and start doing the work. Especially if you can, kind of move in and do things gradually. That's great. But keep in mind, cost of labor is up. There's a laborer shortage. The cost of
Yep.
supplies are up. So it's tough, man. It's tough. We're living in a tough time right now. So I would say, and that's why I keep going back to, you need a knowledgeable realtor when you're going to take this venture, especially somebody that's been through all the ups and downs. I went through the housing crash in 2009, and I was doing foreclosures and short sales and you name it. It was a nightmare,
Yep.
and I'd work day and night just to make a couple $100 paycheck at the end of the day. But but the satisfaction I got from that time is making a couple of millionaires out of my friends, that invested during that time when I was broke.
There you go.
I was broke. If I had the money, but, so.
That's funny. That's funny. Okay. So Mick, I want you to share something that inspired you that we can share to others to helpfully inspire those, whether that be a quote, a movie, a book, some type of philosophy that you live by. What have you consumed that inspired or motivates you that you want to share to others?
Well, I mean, first and foremost, I would say as a Christian, the Bible, Jesus Christ, that would be number one. There's power in the words in that book that are very untapped. Besides that, I would say, my dad was my greatest inspiration. I would sit with him for hours when I was a kid and just listen to him talk. And, he taught me that fear is your greatest enemy. And, when I told him I wanted to get into the music business, his first words were, "That's awesome." And I said, "Look, I'm not going to be making much money." He said, "Hey, listen, do what you love. Life's too short. And, just go for it." So, yeah. And that's why I'm in the real estate business now. It's my new passion. My new love is to, find people their dream home and make sure that those little kids moving in with them have a wonderful place to grow up in and create, beautiful memories. So, absolutely.
There it is, man. There it is. Thank you, man. We appreciate for sharing that with us, Mick. We definitely do. New inspiration for us all to kind of build off of. Before we get out of here, if you have any last words and or want to tell the people how to reach out to you, please do so now.
Yeah. Okay. So I would say, you can find us, my wife, Nicole Diato, my better half, the marketing genius behind me. You can find us at MichiganRockstarRealty.com, Instagram /MI Rockstar Realty, or Facebook. I'm sorry, I might have that backwards. Instagram /Michigan Rockstar Realty and Facebook.com/MI Rockstar Realty.
There it is. Cool. Well, thank you so much, Mick, for joining us here, pulling up a seat to the closing table. We really do appreciate you sharing your knowledge with us. For our YouTube audience watching right now, if you got into this part, you know what you got to do. Hit the like button for us, please, and thank you. And also make sure you share and subscribe to our channel. And if you are listening on Apple, Spotify, or any other podcast platforms, yes, do the same. Give us a like, a 5-star rating, and subscribe for our latest content. Mick, we are leaving the audience with a question to let them think. Hey, audience, have you ever considered buying or selling a home through a crowdfunding platform or investment syndicate? I'm interested to hear your responses. Leave them in the comments below. Besides that, We'll talk to you next time.